actually implement to build momentum for your monthly giving program, no matter what stage you're in, whether you're just beginning, whether you have a really mature one, whether you want to revamp it, or you're just getting started. Again, a big thank you today to Together SC. Do you guys like to say Together SC, or do you go like full on Together South Carolina? What's the
Go
best
by
way?
anything, but usually together as
And thank you guys all to listening. Please do feel free to ask questions in the chat. I will try to get to them at the end of the presentation. Maggie and Heidi will also help me monitor those throughout our presentation today. First, I just want to get like a feel for who's in the room. So do we have like maybe drop your title in there or how many years you've been fundraising, something like that. I'd love to just get a feel for who we have here today. Oh, come on, guys. Don't be shy.
Oh, you want us to say, my name is Alicia, and I am the Executive Director at Family Promise of the Midlands.
Hi, Alicia. Great. It's so nice to
Nice.
meet you. So we've got some development directors, donor engagement, admin assistant, okay, executive directors. Great. So we have a great group here today. And I will just say before we even get started, my peer development network here in Colorado, which I was a part of through the Colorado Nonprofit Association, was a huge part of my career as a fundraiser. So I'm so glad that you all have that support network as well. Great. Let's see who else we've got. Okay. And awesome organizations. Connor, I just want to say thanks for what you're doing. Happy Pride. Okay. All right. So before we go any further, a little bit about me. I am a nonprofit relationship manager at Donor Perfect. So prior to working here, I spent 20 years as a fundraiser. So I was a development director, grant writer, executive director. I did all of it. I worked for organizations with big teams. I also was a sole employee for quite a while at an organization. I wore lots of hats, as many of you do. Some days I was all about connecting with donors. Other days I was writing grants or doing program visits. All that to say, I just want you guys to know that I have sat in your seat. I really do understand what you're going through each and every day. I know how hard you work, and I'm very grateful for your time today. And so I worked really hard to put together something that I hope will be valuable to you and help you build momentum with your monthly giving program. Okay, so let's get started and talk about our agenda for today. We're going to spend our time focused on what I call the 3 pillars of monthly giving. These are the elements that help turn a one-time commitment into a lasting relationship. So first, we're going to talk about strategic timing. I think one of the biggest mistakes organizations make is thinking that monthly giving is simply about promoting the program more often. Instead, we'll explore where commitment is already high and how to recognize the moments when a recurring giving invitation feels natural and aligned with the donor's experience. Then we're going to move into onboarding, and this is where we're going to spend the bulk of our time together. Once someone says yes to monthly giving, what happens next? How do we answer the questions they're already probably asking themselves, usually silently, about whether they made the right decision and whether their monthly gift matters to you as an organization? And then as part of that conversation, we're going to look at donor journeys in action. I'm going to introduce like a simple exercise that can help you and your team map intentional touch points for your donors, whether you're a one-person development shop like I often was, or you're part of a larger team. This is a framework that you can adapt to your own organization. Finally, we're going to talk about trust. Monthly giving isn't a set it and forget it relationship. Sustainers stay because they continue to see impact, they feel appreciated, and they understand the role they're playing in your mission. And so we're going to explore some practical ways to build trust over time. And then finally, we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. Thumbs up in the chat if that sounds good. All right. If you could put in the chat right now, what stage would you say your monthly giving program is in now? Write the bolded word or words. So like maybe it's day 1, maybe you're getting started. maybe you want to grow it or revamp it. Could you guys just let me know where you're currently at in your monthly giving program? Awesome. Upstate International Day 1, revamp, want to grow. Yes, getting started. Okay. Well, I'm so glad you're here today. This is good. Getting started. Okay. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Okay, for some quick context for why this conversation matters. Based on a report data, specifically the fundraising effectiveness project, you guys, if you're familiar with that, put, just in the chat a thumbs up. If you're not, I would intentionally just make sure that you look up the fundraising effectiveness project, FEP. They have some great data that could be useful to you and your teams, as well as, of course, Giving USA. The Fundraising Effectiveness Project did a Q4 2025 benchmark report. It came out recently. And it said that despite giving climbing to historic levels, nonprofits are actually facing what we're calling a donor paradox. So there's more money coming in overall to nonprofits, which is great news, but there are fewer individual donors that are giving. So again, total charitable revenue has grown to its strongest point in 5 years, but the overall number of donors has been declining, driven primarily by the loss of the one-time giver. So I read this as the people who are invested in the work you're doing are giving more. Would you guys agree? Yeah, I mean, the last organization I worked for, that was 100% true. It was just the same people, and they would invest a little more and a little more every year, but we weren't really getting that new pipeline of donors coming in the door. So that's why it really makes sense to be focusing right now on retention strategies, especially for monthly donors. It's not just nice to have, it's essential. We need to turn those one-time donors that often leave us after their first gift into sustainers. Okay, so I've got some great stats for you, but I'm curious to see if you guys have a thought about this. So drop in the chat. What do you think monthly donors, they give XX more over their lifetime than a non-recurring donor? So what amount, do you think it's quadruple? Do you think it's half the amount? What do you think for that first question? 20% says Heidi. Anybody else? How much? 15%, 50%, 10%? Okay, 70%. Yep. So here's the thing. Monthly donors typically give roughly double the amount of non-recurring donors over their lifetime, which is pretty amazing, right? Okay, how about for number 2? Monthly donors stay how many years more on average than a non-recurring donor? But why don't you drop that in the chat for me? How many more years do you think a monthly donor sticks around? 5 years, okay, 2 times more. Here's the thing, guys. Monthly donors stay on average 7 to 8 years versus a non-recurring donor who usually sticks around for 1.5 to 2 years. Again, this is why this is so important with that donor paradox we just talked about. We want to increase the number of people that are giving and turn that into predictable revenue, okay? For-profit companies know this too. I'm sure many of us have seen those Rocket Money commercials where they ask people how many subscriptions they have. We don't know. I certainly have way too many. That's because our culture has become very accustomed to that set it and forget it enrollment like Spotify or Netflix. But let me be clear, monthly giving is not set it and forget it. Paying for a Hulu subscription is for the buyer's entertainment, right? They receive TV and movies in exchange. That's not the same as giving to an organization that they're passionate about. We don't want our monthly givers to forget it. And since monthly donors aren't receiving a good or a service like they would with a gym subscription, that retention advantage for monthly giving isn't automatic. It's reinforced or lost in the first 90 days. And that is what we're going to talk through today. Okay. So back to those 3 pillars we talked about. What needs to happen in the first 90 days to keep your monthly donors engaged and build that momentum? Strategic timing, onboarding, and trust. These are going to apply to any stage. So lots of you are just beginning. Lots of you want to revamp your program. Whether established or starting, this will help you gain momentum. Okay. Before we talk about onboarding and trust, we need to talk about when we're making these invitations in the first place. Because in my experience, and probably yours too, asking at the wrong moment can kind of fall flat and maybe even derail a budding relationship with the donor. But asking at the right moment can mean everything. So just like when you've been planning, I mean, I know we were just coming out of event season. When you plan your program for like your gala or your auction or your golf tournament, you are going to spend a lot of time thinking through the best time to make that ask, right? Like you do it when the emotion in the room is heightened, maybe after there's been a great story that's told from one of your program recipients. You think that through. But monthly giving, we don't typically tend to do that. It can't just be a footer checkbox, a year-end afterthought, or a random email ask. I was totally guilty of that as a fundraiser. I would throw it out everywhere. But monthly giving conversion performs best, just like other asks, when commitment is already high. So I think many of us have been trained to think about monthly giving as a marketing problem, myself included. How do we promote it more? How do we mention it more? How do we get more people to see the monthly giving page? But what if monthly giving isn't primarily a visibility or marketing problem? What if it's a timing problem? Okay, so let's make a mind shift and ask a different question. Instead of spraying your monthly giving message haphazardly everywhere, consider strategic timing. Monthly giving is a deeper commitment, so it performs best when the donor is already activated. Instead of simply asking, how do we promote monthly giving more? The question then becomes, where is commitment already elevated in our donor ecosystem? Where are your donors excited and committed, and where do you see momentum happening already? So let's talk about some examples. Drop in the chat, what's one moment in your experience, to think about your organization and your kind of cadence throughout the year. What's a moment in your experience where a donor's commitment already feels high? Drop something in the chat. Like, any ideas, anyone? When in the cadence of your donor's experience with your nonprofit does their commitment feel high? Post-event, absolutely, Katie. After a volunteer opportunity, yep. Post-event. Maybe even when, after participating in volunteering, maybe even after they've responded to a certain campaign, they have filled out a form or a survey for you that you've asked them to do, absolutely. Maybe they just made their second gift, right? Maybe they've responded to your personal outreach, like, response after an ask. Maybe you sent them like a personal note and they just responded, hey, thanks so much. It means a lot to me to hear from you. Those are all examples. Yep, exactly. When they're already activated and feeling emotionally connected to your organization, which is a great time to consider making a recurring giving ask, just like you would, personal contact. Just like you would after an event that you had where you strategically planned an ask at your gala event or something. Okay, so we're going to talk through these a little bit more. A monthly giving ask is well-timed when there is urgency, demonstrated loyalty, or peak engagement. Let's break these down. So urgency. Examples are like a crisis response, a highly compelling campaign of storytelling, or maybe a matching gift moment. This is important to notice momentum because the donor already feels the urgency. And if they are passionate about the need, they will likely want to be involved because of that urgency. In this case, you don't have to create the energy. It's already there. You're just channeling it. So raise your hand in the chat who remembers what it was like to be fundraising in 2020? Who was fundraising in 2020? Raise your hand. Yeah, that was a crazy time, wasn't it? So personal story, at that time, I was working in a one-person nonprofit that provided shelter, education, and family reunification or adoptive homes to orphaned and vulnerable children in Zimbabwe. So the pressure I felt as a fundraiser was literal. If I didn't meet my goals, there would be children and the staff who cared for them who wouldn't eat or be able to feed their families. Everything was so uncertain, right, guys? Yes, Nulani, it was so rough. I thought that Giving Tuesday Now campaign, who remembers that? You guys remember Giving Tuesday Now? It popped up that spring. And I saw that campaign pop up, and it was a way to help inject nonprofits who were really struggling at that time. You guys remember that? So instead of having Giving Tuesday in December or November, they were like, let's throw it into April or May. because everybody was suffering and fundraising was such a frightening time at that point. So I had never asked supporters to give in May before. The big push was always end of year for Giving Tuesday. I decided to hop on the bandwagon and try Giving Tuesday now, May of 2020, but I made it a little different. I decided to make it a monthly donor ask to help sustain the work through this very difficult time, right? So I expressed the urgency of the situation in Zimbabwe and how their monthly gift would help keep vulnerable infants and children in a safe and loving environment during such a crazy time to be a human on our planet, right? People jumped in, you guys. We had more than 100 monthly donors join us that May. I mean, how I was just overwhelmed. Like monthly giving wasn't really a part of we didn't have a program, but the moment was right to ask because people saw the urgency. I told the story and they responded. Okay, so urgency is a great moment to really take advantage if you want to build momentum for your monthly giving campaign. The second is demonstrated loyalty. This is one of the most underused windows that nonprofits, I think, take advantage of when trying to build momentum for their monthly giving campaign. Some examples might be a second gift. So someone jumps in and makes a second gift, or they have an anniversary. Maybe they've just given to you for the 5th year in a row. These donors are signaling, I believe in this. I want to be a part of this. And so your ask then becomes, would you like to sustain this? Demonstrated loyalty can also look like a giving pattern. So for example, maybe they make $1,000 gift every December, and they've done that for the last 5 years. So a couple of years ago, I was working for an organization that worked in global orphan care reform in Mexico and Southeast Asia. That was kind of my jam. That was my space. And I wanted to build their monthly giving numbers. So I pulled a list of everybody who had been giving a one-time gift of $1,000 every December for the last like 3 or 4 years. Then I personally reached out, thanked them for their loyalty over the years. I asked them why it mattered to them. And then I asked if they consider sustaining it by just changing the way that they gave. Instead of giving $1,000 every December and me worrying like, oh my gosh, is it going to come in? I sure hope they make their gift again this year. I asked them if they would sign up to give $100 a month instead. And you know what? 90% of those people did. And if you do the math, right, I actually upgraded them by $200. And now instead of worrying about them giving every single December, they're now giving $1,200 a year every month. I know what I can count on, and they're probably going to hang around for 7 or 8 years. So look for that demonstrated loyalty and pull those segments out of your database. Finally, peak engagement. And you guys already mentioned this. Look for places to ask post-event, after volunteering, or after a powerful impact email. Those moments, their identity with your organization is heightened. They're connected, and that's when a sustaining invitation feels supernatural. Are you guys with me? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you are. Yeah? Thank you, Alicia. You're awesome. I can just see your beautiful face right now, and she's like nodding, and like the picture behind you is so gorgeous. Okay. Now I want to pause. When I started fundraising, some of the strategic stuff felt kind of salesy. I wanted giving to feel natural, but I want to stress that these asks are natural for the very reasons I explained on the last slide. Your donors are already showing their commitment is elevated, and they see the need or urgency, they gave again, they showed loyalty, or they came to an event and they engaged. So they are signaling that they want to be part of what you're doing. It's about aligning with the donor. When the timing is right, it feels natural, it feels aligned, it feels like an invitation, not like pressure, okay? And you guys are fundraisers, which means you know how to build relationships and you know how to do this, okay? So I'm just trying to remind you of the framework that can really help you build momentum. Okay, pillar 2, onboarding. Let's imagine we've done this well. We've identified a moment of high commitment. We've made the invitation, and a donor says yes. What happens next? Because that's where most monthly giving programs either build momentum or they lose it, right? Yes. With that, we enter the second momentum opportunity, onboarding. Okay, if someone signs up to give monthly, they've made a decision that feels long-term for you and for them. But here's the reality, guys. The durability of that decision is tested immediately. Your organization wants to answer the questions that the giver may have about that commitment. So I give monthly to several different nonprofits. And I'm going to be honest, I'm probably harder on them maybe than the average donor. Do y'all feel that? Like if you give to another nonprofit, are you hard on them or are you easier? I don't know. I feel kind of bad. I'm like, just do your thing. But we all ask questions internally when we make a gift, like, did I make the right choice? Do they notice me? Does my commitment matter? They're not going to say them out loud, but they're thinking them. And if we don't intentionally answer those questions, the donor will. And sometimes they answer by canceling their commitment to giving. And we don't want that. So, which one of these silent donor questions do you guys think nonprofits or maybe your nonprofit is the worst at answering? Why don't you drop that in the chat? Do you feel like you have a hard time helping them answer, did I make the right choice? Or do you a hard time making them feel noticed? A hard time making them feel that they matter? What do you guys think? Or maybe like, I do a great job at all of it. What are you talking about? Noticed? Did I make the right choice? Notice. Yep. I see a theme here. Absolutely noticed, right? And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in our onboarding because we're busy. Yep. Does my commitment matter? Yeah. So how do we fix this problem, guys, and answer that donor's essential silent questions? You onboard your monthly givers in the first 30 days, okay? First 30 days. First, we show immediate gratitude. And again, the stuff I'm going to share here is like so basic, guys, but then we're going to get into like the framework of how we build this out. So just hang in there with me. First, we show immediate gratitude. Speed builds trust and an instant confirmation. Let the donor know that their gift was received and appreciated. You want to be sure to use a warm human tone here. People give because of the connection, and you should respond with connection. A few ideas of what you can include is something like clearly state the recurring nature. Yep, we got your monthly gift. Thank you so much. Make sure they know that the process worked. Express genuine gratitude. We just finished up Donor Perfect's free 2-day conference, and Mallory Erickson, who, if you don't know who she is, you should Google her and listen to all her stuff. She's amazing. She was talking about how when she was fundraising, she used to kind of get annoyed if a donor would get irritated if they didn't get an immediate thank you. And she's like, well, don't you want me to just do the work and like assure that your money is going where, to the program that you care about? But then she's like, I realized that it was like this. So she's like, I've had a couple of kids. After I had my baby, somebody would bring me a casserole. They'd probably drop it off at the door because I was like nursing or sleeping or something. And they didn't need me to thank them, but they just wanted confirmation, like a text or something later, that I got the casserole, that I appreciated it, that it was delivered right to me and it was helpful to me and my family. And so if I never texted them and I never told them, like, hey, I got your casserole, thanks so much, they would just be wondering, like, did she get it? Did it matter? It's the same thing, right? For our donors. I don't think it's that they require a ton of us or that they get mad because they didn't get like an immediate email thank you. It's just like, did it work? Did they get it? Right? So make sure that's happening. Next, you want to reinforce impact. I don't want to give too stringent of a timeline here, but I recommend this reinforcement happens within 7 to 10 days of their first monthly gift. So this is beyond that immediate response. It's an intentional acknowledgement of partnership and impact. In this, you can share a short story or a specific outcome or a tangible example of what their gift has done. And this is a way to remind them of what they are making possible before their first monthly charge even fades from their memory, okay? Next, you want to deepen their identity when it comes to your mission. Here's the thing, guys. We are in, I was just reading something, like we're like in a loneliness crisis, like an epidemic of people not feeling connected. And one of the most beautiful opportunities that we have right now as fundraisers in the nonprofit sector, we help people feel connected to each other and to incredible work. And so by you building that sense of identity and belonging to your organization, you are addressing a core need that everybody has, especially right now, to feel connected and to belong to something. So they have made a monthly commitment to be part of your team, and you can confirm that they are insiders by welcoming them, giving them a clear look into the community that you're serving, introducing them to the rest of your team, and letting them know how they are a part of the group. For example, let them know, like, welcome to the group of supporters who makes this work possible every month. Raise your hand if you do have, or drop in the chat, if you do have a monthly giving program going. Do you guys have it named? And if you do, what is it? What's the name of your monthly giving circle or program? This, I mean, it's kind of I know it kind of maybe feels gimmicky, but it actually does psychologically matter to people. Not at all. The 1897 Society, Hope Circle, the Crew, I like that. Innovators, Coastal Gems, I love that. Yep. I love all of these. So if you don't have your monthly giving program named, spend some time thinking about it. Plant the Seed Circle, love that, Nulani. Hive Keepers Club. Ooh, I wanna be part of that. I have always wanted to care for bees. I'm assuming that's what that is. Kenethia, I don't know. So again, if you haven't already, make sure that you've got a name in mind that kind of just builds that identity around monthly giving, okay? All right, the final step of this, oh, Alicia, I don't know. And the final step in this onboarding framework is set expectations. Guys, tell your new monthly donors what happens next, okay? This again, in the first 30 days. How often will they hear from you? What updates are they going to receive? Who to contact if they have a question about their giving? One of the biggest things, and if you give monthly, you know this, sometimes they don't like, maybe it's an older person, they're like, I don't know how to go in my portal. I need to adjust my amount, or I need to pause my gift because I'm having, like, they want to know, who can I talk to about my monthly donation? Tell them that within the first 30 days. Who is my person? Give them a name, an email, and a phone number. Okay, y'all, that is important. If they know when they're going to hear from you and what their gift sustains, and that you have a plan for their partnership, they will build even more trust with your organization. Okay, so let's recap. In the first 30 days, you should onboard your monthly donors by expressing immediate gratitude, showing proof of impact early on, showing that they belong by deepening their identity, and setting expectations, okay, with clear communication. All right. Everything we just talked about sounds great, right? But if we're honest, sometimes what actually happens looks a little more like this. Okay, so we're going to talk about donor journeys now. And let's say, I don't know, Julia makes her first monthly gift of $25. Okay, yay. We have done our work. We've set up, she gets an automatic email thank you receipt. That's good. So she at least knows that her gift worked and it went through. And then, I don't know, let's say that you're in the middle of planning for your annual golf tournament and you're totally bogged down and you meant to call Julia, but it was like just pushed down the list and she doesn't hear from you. And then let's say, I don't know, golf season is over, but now you've got like a huge grant deadline coming up and you're scrambling to meet that deadline. And again, Julia doesn't hear from you. And then, oh my gosh, it's already time to send out the annual appeal, which is your biggest campaign of the year. Alice, yes, I'm so glad you feel seen. Julia's name is on the mailing list and on the email list. And so you go ahead and send it out to her, right? She receives it. She feels a little sad that the only other time she's ever heard from your organization is to ask her for more money again. And you didn't even acknowledge that she gives monthly. So she cancels her monthly gift. She feels bad. She loves what you do. You feel awful because you really appreciated her support. She just slipped through the cracks, right? Like, because you're so busy. Y'all are so busy. You do so many things. Nobody intends to create this experience, okay? So be honest. What's the most common reason donors fall through the cracks at your organization? Why don't you drop it through the chat? What's the most common reason you think people are dropping through the cracks like Julia did with her first monthly gift? Alice, is it because you're super busy, you know, like lack of staff time, no intentionality at Tevin, lack of consistent communication and personal engagement? This exact scenario. Oh, good. I was like building this because this is totally something that's happened to me. So no clear process, maybe. Yep. Too many competing priorities, lack of a plan. We barely have any donors fall through the cracks. I love that, Courtney. Way to go. Okay. Here's the thing, guys. The challenge isn't knowing what to do, because you guys really do know what to do. You're experts at what you do. The challenge is doing it consistently. And here is where donor journeys come in. Okay, guys, so this is the meat and the bones of what we're going to talk about today is intentionality, that intentionality that Tevin, you were referencing. We're going to be intentional about building what a monthly donor journey with our organization looks like. So get ready. This is going to be where the rubber meets the road for our onboarding and ongoing stewardship for our monthly donors, and honestly, any donor for your organization. How do we make sure these touch points actually happen? Not just the good intention of stewarding Julia with her monthly gift, but making sure it actually happens. How do we create consistency when donors join on different days or different weeks and different campaigns, especially when we might be a team of one or we're just super busy, right? So here is what a donor journey is. Every single donor is on a journey with your organization. It refers to the relationship between the nonprofit and the donor and the way that relationship changes over time, okay? It includes key milestones and touch points that create a sense of cohesion for your donor community. And setting up intentional donor journeys for your monthly donors, as well as other groups of donors, is a vital practice, okay? And I'm telling you this from experience. This is why they're worth creating in the first place. At their core, donor journeys help us be more intentional about how we build relationships with our supporters. So first, donor journeys help maintain momentum after that first gift. Whether someone is a new monthly donor, a volunteer, or an event attendee, there's a period like right after that initial action when engagement and enthusiasm are at their highest. And a donor journey helps us build on that momentum instead of letting it fall away. Second, it provides some guardrails so nobody gets messed. We're not all superstars like Courtney. Love you, Courtney. But most of us are managing a lot of relationships and campaigns and responsibilities all at once, right? So a donor journey creates that roadmap for stewardship and communication. So we're not relying on our memory alone. It gives us structure for showing up consistently. And third, donor journeys help us answer those silent questions that we mentioned earlier that every donor is already asking. Does a monthly gift matter? Does the organization notice me? Did I make the right choice? Okay. A well-designed donor journey answers those questions before a donor even has to ask them. And that's why these are so powerful. Okay. If you guys want, if you have a pen or paper in front of you, feel free to like do this along with me, but you can also do this when you get back to the office. Before we jump in though, I'm going to give you a little story time. Okay. Some story time to kind of explain again why donor journeys is important and how it can help you scale momentum for your monthly giving program. Super early in my career. So this would have been like, I don't know, I was like really young. It was a long time ago. I was asked to lead the very first Giving Tuesday campaign my organization had ever participated in. It was moderately successful, and we had a lot of brand new lower level donors come in. And it's important for y'all to know that we did not have an individual giving sort of program or campaign. The organization was very reliant on big corporate gifts and like events, very top heavy that way. And so I told our executive director that I wanted to call and thank every single one of those brand new kind of lower level donors personally. And she shrugged her shoulders and she was like, you were just wasting your time with these small level gifts. But since it was my campaign, I could do whatever I wanted. So I did. I spent a few hours, like within the first day or two of that first Giving Tuesday, calling everybody on the list. I left a lot of voicemail, but I did connect with a few people. One lady had started a monthly gift. I think it was like maybe $50 a month, which was not very much at the time for this organization. They were pretty big. But we had a lengthy conversation and I followed up a week later with a personal note. A month later, I invited her to a program event to learn more about the work she'd helped us do. A few weeks after that, I invited her to coffee to ask what she thought about it. She brought her husband along. And you guys, within 6 months, this woman who just gave $50, starting out on a Giving Tuesday campaign, made a 3-year, $300,000 commitment to our organization. And I was sure glad, and so was my boss, that I was intentional about immediately thanking her and building out a stewarding her. You never know what kind of capacity that new monthly donor has, whether they start by giving $10 a month or $100 a month. But here's the thing, guys. My plan for that donor lived on an Excel spreadsheet. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about, okay? Which was static. Yes, Alicia, not dynamic. And as I built out our individual giving program, people started getting missed and things got dropped. I didn't have the capacity, right, to call all these new people that were coming in. My brain was going to explode. I couldn't give everyone the attention I wanted to. And I was so worried that I was going to miss out on bringing in more people like this woman into our organization. Okay. Cue donor journeys. This is the first step in taking the time to build out what you want your donor journey to look like. In this case, monthly donors. The second step is to use your CRM to automate it, okay? All right. Now, every donor's journey within an organization is going to look a little different. You might be a development team of one, or you might have a lot of resources at your fingertips. That's what's great about building these donor journeys out and personalizing them for the capacity that you do have. Now, I'm thinking specifically about a new monthly donor. And we are going to map out what we want their journey to look like. You can do this exercise in your office. You can write it down on a piece of paper. You can do it on a Word document, whatever works for you, but be intentional about it. Like take the 20 minutes or whatever to do this. Let's walk through this sample. So first, somebody makes their first $25 gift a month after their Giving Tuesday campaign, okay? And again, this is part of onboarding, that second pillar we talked about. Yes, you should have that automated thank you email set up. Include the cute photo, the specific email, thing they're gifted, and the formal receipt. It's super annoying when I make a gift and I don't get that immediate confirmation. I always wonder if it went through. But that is honestly not enough to answer their question of, does my gift matter? Do they see me? That's why having a personal thank you or a welcome video can really go a long way. Guys, this can also be automated. Record a quick video of you or your executive director thanking them for their new monthly gift and embed it into an email that gets triggered 24 hours after that first monthly donation is made. It doesn't need to be pretty or perfect. You can use something like CoVideo or CosVid. Those are embedded or utilized in a lot of different CRMs. Donor Perfect uses CosVid. Or if you do have the time, you can hold up a whiteboard saying, thank you for joining us as a monthly donor, Julia. Doing this live with their name is best, but you can also record it and have it sent automatically. It still makes it personal and very meaningful. I use that a lot and people love it. I mean, they don't want polished right now, y'all. They want real, authentic connection, especially in the world of AI. I had one lady I was recording a video for. I held it on a little whiteboard and I was saying, thank you so much for your gift. And like my cat jumped behind my chair, onto my chair. And I decided to send the video anyway. And I'll tell you, within 30 seconds, she emailed me back. She was like, oh my gosh, I love your cat. I work at home too. It just helps build authentic connection. Okay. Immediate gratitude. Seriously, guys, you do have time for this. Unless you are getting hundreds of new monthly donors a week, you can write one or two of these thank you notes a week. So within 7 days, maybe you write a short note on stationery that indicates your organization's work. It's handwritten. It's imperfect. It tells a very short story. It's your sloppy handwriting. It doesn't matter. Include your business card. Tell them you're there anytime they have questions. I used to carve out 20 minutes of my work week to do this every week. People loved it. You guys, it's so nice to not just get junk mail, right, in your inbox. And it just delights people. It delights them. Okay. So show your proof of impact with a handwritten note or story that maybe has, I used to do story cards. So I would have stationery, and then we had different story cards that showcased, highlighted a proof of impact that I would put in my personal notes. So those were already made up, and I had maybe 15 of them. And I would write down in my CRM which story card I sent to the donor so I wouldn't accidentally repeat it, later on. It's a great way to show proof of impact early on and have that personal touch point, okay? Okay, 2 weeks after that, maybe you send them an email with another more in-depth story that ties their monthly giving to a specific impact. This could be part of a drip campaign or a welcome series that answers popular FAQs, lets them know when they can expect to hear updates from you and who to contact for questions. Okay, now listen, guys, before you say, this is all great, but it's just way too much, remember, you can and you should automate this. This can be automated through your CRM and your email platform. So Donor Perfect and any CRM worth its salt can help you set up donor journeys like this for various groups of donors. So for example, in Donor Perfect, you can set up a trigger that says when someone makes their first monthly gift, they should automatically be enrolled in a drip campaign or an email series over time on Constant Contact, which is included with Donor Perfect. At the same time, there's a task that will be triggered to let you know that you need to send that quick thank you video, or that could be automated as well and part of that monthly giving drip campaign. And then let's say another 7 days later, you get a task assigned to you that says, hey, send Julia that personal note and so forth, okay? I use this feature as a fundraiser. So after my first experience trying to like scale individual giving and realizing like this cannot live in an Excel spreadsheet, my brain will explode. It gave me so much peace of mind to take a couple of days to set up all of those automations in my CRM so that I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, no donors were going to slip through the cracks. Because every one of them mattered to me, and you never know what capacity they might have. This helps them steward, okay? We're very small CRMs. I definitely recommend Donor Perfect, but we can certainly talk more, Courtney. Donor Perfect and any CRM worth its salt, you guys, should be able to help you set up this type of donor journey so that every donor gets that personalized attention they deserve without breaking your brain, okay? So we just talked through a new monthly donor journey, but there are many options beyond that, guys, and I wanted to be sure not to skip this. Here are a few ideas you can see here. Any of these journeys can be created in Donor Perfect, right? Or any other CRM worth its salt based on the triggers that you want to set up, okay? So do you have any ideas? Like, there's examples that I have used in the past is like when someone makes their second gift, then that would trigger, remember we were talking about the moment to ask for a monthly gift. When they make their second gift, maybe automated like, hey, like we noticed you made a second gift. Thank you so much for joining us again. And then maybe a week after that, you get a task that says, hey, ask so-and-so if they would join you as a monthly donor, right? Or a loyal donor. You can set up lots of different types of donor journeys once you've got the hang of this. Or if you're a smaller nonprofit, guys, just create one donor journey for all your donors for now, right? It will just help you make sure that no one is slipping through the cracks. So we have explained donor journeys, which is the onboarding framework, right, that we needed to make sure we're answering our new monthly donor questions and making them feel seen and valued in that first 30 days. But whether we're talking about monthly donors, first-time donors, volunteers, whatever, donor journeys help us be intentional about their experience with our organization. But again, no matter how thoughtfully we design those experiences, every successful donor journey ultimately depends on one thing: trust. And that's our third pillar, okay? So far we have found momentum for building our monthly giving through strategic timing, our onboarding process using donor journeys, and then we embark on the third pillar, which is simply trust. This is the one y'all know how to do. I mean, y'all do this so well. We talked about, onboarding in that first 30 days, but that's not the end of their evaluation process. The same way, like your first 90 days at a new job is evaluated right from the employee and the employer side, your donor is still looking to build trust in those first few months. So like I said at the beginning, we are not looking for set it and forget it. We want these monthly donors to know about us and hear from us and trust us. So build momentum by building that trust. Use your CRM to help you continue to share gratitude, continue to show proof of impact through your stories and all of that. And I will say, guys, since AI is on everybody's mind right now, I'm going to mention one thing. Most CRM systems, it could be Donor Perfect, Virtuous, Bloomerang, all of you, I've used them all in my career. They all have AI like built into them right now. And I know it's on your minds as fundraisers. Here's the thing. AI can certainly help create pieces of these donor journeys faster for you, like drafting those welcome emails or brainstorming stewardship ideas. But I don't think, actually, I know AI cannot replace what actually makes donor journeys work. Donors stay with you because they feel seen and known and connected. You have built identity and belonging in your relationship with them. So AI can help you scale the process, but it can't replace the relationship you build through the process. So all of these elements we've talked about today will help you build momentum beyond that first monthly gift and sustain your program long into the future. Now, we're going to have some time here for Q&A quick. These are kind of our pillars we talked about. I'm going to skip through this. One of my favorite quotes is from James Clear in his book, Atomic Habits. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Donor journeys help to set up a system for your donors and your monthly donors as they progress along their journey with the organization. Intentionality drives results, okay? So even if we don't get all of those new givers to set up a recurring schedule, even if 15% of them do, we are building momentum, right, for our new monthly giving campaign. So drop in the chat, guys, what's one thing from today's session you're actually going to implement in the next 30 days? You can think about that too, but drop it in the chat when you've got one thing you want to do in the next 30 days. Now, we talked a lot and very quickly about donor journeys, so I've got a QR code up here for y'all. If you want to scan that, that will give you a free ebook that teaches you how to build out donor journeys, not just for monthly donors, but like for all groups of donors. You might, so just like whip out your phone and like scan that QR code, and that's going to give you a great free downloadable resource that you can do. Ooh, you're making a video. Yay, Courtney. I love videos. Donors love them too.